Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Francis Brebner, and I live in Orange County, California. My contact information is francisbrebner@hotmail.com. Telephone number 949-212-4169.
Okay, so what I'd like to start with is give us a little bit of your background as it relates to the Highland Games.
Well, I first got involved in Highland Games over 30 years ago. I was looking for a sport to get involved with. I started off in long distance running, would you believe? And for there, I then tried some arm wrestling, I did some powerlifting, did some strongman. But it wasn't until I was introduced to Highland Games, as soon as I started my first practice session, I knew it was a sport for me. And for there, I just progressed in the sport. I started off in a junior league, a Glenfiddich junior league. It was a circuit of games. It had been started in Scotland by Louis Logan with Glenfiddich. It was a circuit of 8 games. I believe it's up to now 13 or 14 games now. And it was a way of encouraging young athletes into the sport of Highland Games. And for there progressed to the open category, and competed altogether for 18 years in the sport of Highland Games, and a great time competing, travelled all over the world. And now, since I've retired for Highland Games, which was 15 years ago, I started IHGF, which promotes and establishes championship events throughout the world. And we've actually got a circuit of games here in America, which is part, we've got all the associations, Highland Games associations for across America, to come together in an all-American series. And these games here in Phoenix is part of the series. In fact, this is the second leg in the series, in which one athlete for the men's and women's will qualify to go forward to the finals, which will be held in Great Plains Renaissance Highland Games Festival in Wichita in September. So very glad to still be active and be a part of Highland Games, and to watch it grow, and to watch the athletes coming into the sport, how they progress. For example, just yesterday, and across the board between the categories, the lightweights and the men's and women's and the masters division, we saw 5-6 world records being established, which was incredible. And that just gives you an idea about the standard and how it's rising each year as the games continue.
Okay, so I do have to confess that you were my very first mentor. When I decided to get into it, I was surfing the web looking for videos, and I ran across your weight for distance video, and so that's how I taught myself how to do weight for distance. So thank you.
I'm glad it helped you.
You did. And so, who were your mentors?
My mentors, we used to hear coaching classes when I was first starting out in the junior league, Glenfiddich Junior League. We'd hear Bill Anderson. Bill Anderson was a legend in the sport, Highland Games, well before his time. And he would coaching classes and to help us with our techniques and stuff. So Bill Anderson, and I used to get some tips from likes of Grant Anderson, Hamish Davidson, and so forth.
Okay. What have been the biggest changes that you've seen in the Highland Games over the course of time that you've been involved?
The biggest change, the growth of the sport. The growth has been incredible, especially the last 20 years, over 20 years I've seen it explode, but the last 10 years especially, and you can see it by the amount of new categories, athletes, lightweights, and just across the board, just the standard, everything's rising, there's more athletes coming into the sport, which is great to see, and the new countries adopting the sport in Europe, Hungary, Croatia, Romania, France, it's growing really big, Germany, it's really great to see it, yeah.
Okay, so with growth, there are always pluses and minuses. What do you think some of the minuses are, and how do the athletes and the organizations seem to be addressing that?
Well, I think the minus is there's so much growth in some of the fields is very tight indeed to accommodate everything. And it can get a little tricky sometimes. You're always in the lookout for, hammers and weights and such. But like the games field here, this can accommodate everything quite easily because it's pretty huge, So that's a plus, is here in a big games field can accommodate, 120, 30 athletes over a 2-day. And the smaller games, it's very tight. You've possibly got to maybe cut out an event here or there just to accommodate everything. But in the whole, everything is good, and you just got to make everything work the best you can.
Okay. And so you travel extensively, and you're talking about the new countries that come on board, and obviously you're Scottish, and so this is a Scottish game. What do you see as other countries adopt it? How do you feel about how that adoption is taking place? I mean, do you see big changes in like the pure form that you grew up with versus how all of the other countries and states and areas are accepting the game? Because just by their acceptance of it, they're changing it slightly. Do you notice anything major or?
Well, obviously games vary for location to location and the country, In Scotland, you go in a traditional atmosphere. You've got in a combination of the pipe bands, the dancing, the heavy athletics, you've got the clans. But I experience that here in America. Wherever you've got in the ingredients, you create that atmosphere. And you've got the people, it's associated through Scotland, through their lineage, and even people that's maybe not Scottish coming to participate in the sport. One of the best games outside of Scotland is there's a few. In fact, there's Waipu, New Zealand, fantastic games, incredible. And there's Bressuire, France. This year we're in the World Amateur Championships of Bressuire, France. An incredible setting within a castle. Dates back 1,000 years. It's all walled in, and you've got a really, really strong atmosphere because they've got all the ingredients of Highland Games, the pipe bands, the dancing, just everything, and that's what creates atmosphere. You've got to hear that winning ingredient. With the games just a few weeks back here in Queen Mary, and right in front of the ship, very unique setting. And again, if you've got everything, the winning ingredients, as I say, pipe bands, dancing, and everything, that's it. You've created that atmosphere.
Okay, all right. And so, what would you say? Let's talk about you as the athlete. What were some of your greatest successes as an athlete?
I'd have to say probably winning the Royal Braemar Highland Games, being presented by the Queen. That was a highlight. And
is that when you were knighted?
No, I wasn't knighted.
Oh, okay.
No, I just got presented by the Queen. She presents the Norman Murray Trophy for the caber, and that year especially, I think it was 1997. I won the games. I won the caber and I also set a field record, so it was a very good day for me. And be presented with the Queen, that was definitely a highlight. And holding 2 world records at the same time, the 28 for distance and the 56 for distance, 48-1 and 94.
Wow.
94-1. That was definitely the highlights for me, as well as winning the caber, World Caber Championship 7 times.
Okay. All right. So, like I said when we first started, I think that I will probably try to interview you many times because you've got so many things that we can learn from and that you can share with us. I want to honor your time today, though, and I know you have to get back to work here. So, if you are to meet a new person, which I'm sure you do all the time, who's considering coming into the games, what would you say to that person?
I would say didn't be in a rush, you know, get the techniques in all the different throwing events. You know, technique is going to win over strength. But once you have the technique and strength together, then that's a winning combination. That's when field records and world records are broken. You know, so take your time and hone your skills in each of the throwing disciplines, and rest up. Don't be too eager to get back your next session without resting up. You want to rest up and heal the body, you know, and take time off at the end of the season, especially at least a month or more at the end of the season.
Okay. And what would you, so is that also what you would tell a current athlete? And then if you were to sit in front of a group of athletes currently throwing, what would you tell them to improve their scores, to improve their outlook in the games, and to become better athletes?
Well, work on their week events, because if you've got one week event, that's what could cost you a championship or a world championship event. You've got to hit all your throwing disciplines in an even keel, you know. So just work on your week events and just honing your skills and building your strength. Okay.
And so what's next? What's next for you this year?
Oh, next event's going to be Chile. Chile at the end of this month. We're in a games there in Chile. It's the second time I'll be going to Chile. And it's great to see how they're embracing Highland Games. The games there has only been gone for a few years, but they've got the cities all behind them, and they created a great atmosphere at their games last year. I'm looking forward to going back. And then we've got a world series, a World Highland Games series. It's going to be held this year. It starts off in Brescia, France in June, then we go to Switzerland in July, and then finishing it off in Fifor, Norway in August. Fifor, Norway. And that's the World Amateur Highland Games series, but also there's an International Highland Games is taking place, which is open for all categories in Fifor, Norway, and it's a power week held between the 19th to the 25th. Beautiful location, 2,800 feet above sea level. You've got Loch Fifor, Mount Fifor at the back of this beautiful hotel, dates back over 100 years, the oldest part of it. And we're getting international games here, so we've got coaching clinics and seminars, so looking forward to the series. Going back to Fifor, Norway, which is a great location for games.
Okay. And so, final words for today, and just know that I'm going to hit you up for future interviews.
Yeah.
So your final words for today.
Final words for today is keep practicing, strong in the gym, and I look forward to seeing you at the Highland Games for all the newbies coming into the sport. Catch you at the next one.
All right. Thank you.